One of the most fascinating parts of deer hunting is Northwoods deer hunting in the snow. There's nothing like it, especially tracking a big buck in a fresh snowfall. There are a few guys over the years who have really perfected this craft, and one of them was R.G. Bernier. Dick, as he was known to many of his friends, was not only a great deer hunter, but a great man. We just lost Dick last week. But what I'm going to remember from Dick, aside from his friendship, was the incredible education that he gave us as deer hunters on how to track big woods bucks. Here's a flashback to one of our first seasons of Deer and Deer Hunting TV, where Dick went in the woods with Charlie Alsheimer and showed us exactly how he tracked down those big bucks.
Dick, you know, I've been involved in the whitetail world as a hunter and photographer for over 40 years, and you know, when I see conditions like this, and kind of gets me energized. I've pretty much always been involved in hunting farm country whitetails, hunting deer stands, pinch points, funnels, you know, kind of waiting for the deer to make a mistake and come to me. But you know, I'm kind of intrigued by the style of hunting that you do. You know, the Trackers of North America, I've been following your work for a long time. And here we are today with just absolute perfect conditions. For me, this kind of thing, cold, snowy, might not be conducive to seeing deer moving all the time out of a stand hunting situation, but this has got to be kind of like a duck going to water for a tracker when you see this kind of stuff falling. Tell me a little bit about, you know, how you would approach a day like today, how you'd kind of get on that big buck track, and how you might pursue that animal if he's maybe an hour or 2 hours ahead of you.
Well, in terms of conditions, this is it. And a man leaving the woods with the gently falling snow and 3 inches on the ground already really indicates he has no love for what he's doing. You wait all year for conditions like this. And a buck track found under these type of conditions ought to be secured by the end of the day.
You know, we've got that snow falling. It's kind of, I think somewhere along the line I've heard you talk about death snow. But we also know, you could hear the crunchiness of the snow when we were walking up here. You got that, a little bit of an ice pack underneath us. You can hear that crunch. Is that going to slow things up even though we've got this snow falling? Is that going to be to your detriment?
Well, if I'm closing the gap on this deer and I realize he's within a couple, 300 yards of me, my movement will slow down considerably, and I will place my steps in order to try to minimize any sound. But while I'm catching up to that animal, the snow is going to be muffled with the falling snow. His ears aren't going to be quick to pick it up. And the great thing about falling snow with a deer's vision is it gets fuzzy, and they sort of lose some of that wariness, if you will.
What are the key ingredients you look for when deciding which whitetail track to follow?
The important ingredients, number one, is how wide the track is. I'm looking for a buck that will dress over 200 pounds. The measurement needs to be 3 1/8 to 3 1/4 minimum. As soon as that track is laid, the elements will dictate how quickly it deteriorates. Just like human prints, no two are exactly the same. This deer invariably will get into other deer. And this stick, which is dead, anytime I pull it out, will fit exactly into that buck's hoof print. Secondly, I look to see how deep that track is sinking into the earth. The outline of the track is well defined, and this snow is soft enough. As a buck matures, the back of his track will be compressed more so than the front tips of his hoofs. In terms of a deer's age, it's based on how the animal places his foot and where his weight is distributed inside that hoof print. And thirdly, I look to see how wide the stagger is on that track from right leg to left leg. The stagger of a buck as he walks is you draw a line down the center of his belly and how far his right leg and left leg extends beyond that center line. The greater the width, the heavier the deer. Here's the difference the way a buck walks as opposed to a doe. You see here, see how his left side is toed out to the left this way, toeing out, going this way, toeing out, going this way, and the buck's front hoofs are larger than the rear hoofs, and his front hoof step actually right inside the front hoofs. So you're seeing an impression of those front hoofs here. As a deer tracker, or a hunter, I try and stay as clean as possible as far as my human scent. While on the track, I follow that track no matter where it leads me and pay little to no attention to the wind because it shifts so often and the buck does not go in a straight line. Takes a pretty good buck to make a rub of this size, and it's no coincidence that his track is going right through here. The requirements for a beginning deer tracker is to be physically fit, mental toughness, and lots of elbow room. You could track a buck for several miles on a given day, and the last thing you want to have happen is run into posted property that you can't cross. The best conditions possible is a lightly falling snow with 2 or 3 inches already underfoot. The worst possible snow conditions is when that snow freezes and every step you take sounds like breaking a pane of glass. I look for where the tracks start to weave and meander. And as they do that, the next logical move on that animal's part is for him to bed. My movements slow down considerably. Now my eyes move far more than my legs. And generally I'm on my knees looking 18 inches above the ground for a bedded whitetail.
As archery has gotten more proficient, shooters are able to shoot longer distances, the bows have gotten better, and they've been able to shoot longer distances more accurately, more precisely, and so the equipment that goes on the bow has had to advance at the same level as the bows themselves. IQ's bow sights are a perfect example of that. So contained within this sight are a multitude of features that allow you to have greater accuracy at longer distance and extend your range. When this sight was originally launched, the whole premise was to be able to extend your range beyond 40 yards because of the retina lock technology. This is a technology that's exclusive to IQ. What it is it's actually this little holographic dot that's contained within the sight housing, and that allows you to find better alignment at full draw, whether you're using a peep sight or not. In addition to that, this sight also has second and third axis adjustments, so you can find greater accuracy there for uphill and downhill shots, and then just leveling your bow sight in general when it's on your bow. New this year, we have new pins that are 50% thinner, so you can achieve a closer pin gap, but because those pins are thinner, like a .1019 pin will actually be seen a little bit easier in the sight picture. So you won't have as much crowding in your sight picture, again, further increasing your accuracy. So a sight like this IQ gives you the opportunity to really take your entire bow setup, optimize it, and achieve your best shooting at distance. When I first started bow hunting, bows were really inexpensive. They were not all that technologically advanced, and a pin sight was literally a pin on a little bracket that went on your bow that cost about 15 bucks. Fast forward 30 years, and here we are, and we're dealing with a completely different technological set by comparison to then. And so in lieu of that, our equipment is advanced, and now not only are we dealing with multiple pin sights, but we're dealing with sights that have given us the opportunity to extend our range And now, whether you're hunting even for whitetails in the east, there are quite a few people that are extending their range to 40, 50, even 60 yards if they're proficient. Now, of course, that's a personal choice, and it comes down to how confident you feel at range. Some people still continue to keep their maximum shooting distance at game to 30 yards, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the advancement of technology, whether it's with the bows or the accessories, has given us the opportunity to take it further than that and extend those ranges, which gives us a larger amount of opportunity overall in the field and a better opportunity to harvest those deer or antelope or elk that we're after each year. For more information, visit iqbowsight.com or Feradyne.com and click on the IQ Bow Sight tab.